I am Jarvis, your storyteller. Welcome to the Science Fiction Exploration. If you like the story, please subscribe to our channel. Jensen Cole wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the blinking diagnostic panel with growing frustration. The ancient repair station that he called home hadn't seen a customer in 3 weeks, and now its life support systems were acting up again. Out here on the edge of civilized space, equipment failures could mean death. He was elbow-deep in the station's ventilation system when the proximity alarm blared. A ship was approaching fast, too fast for normal traffic. Jensen rushed to the observation deck, his boots clanging against the metal grating. Through the reinforced windows, he spotted an elegant vessel unlike anything he'd seen before. Its hull gleamed with an iridescent sheen that seemed to shift colors in the starlight. The ship's engines were sputtering, leaving a trail of plasma discharge that told Jensen everything he needed to know. Someone was in trouble. "Repair Station Delta 9, a melodious voice crackled over the comm. "This is the Celestial Wind requesting emergency docking clearance." Jensen activated the comm system. "Clearance granted. Bay 2 is open. I'm reading severe plasma fluctuations in your port engine." The ship limped into the docking bay with impressive precision despite its failing engine. As the airlock cycled, Jensen gathered his tools, already mentally cataloging possible repairs. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing a tall figure that made him freeze mid-step. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, with crystalline scales that caught the light like diamonds. Her features were elegant but fierce, reminiscent of Earth's big cats. She wore what appeared to be a military uniform, though its design was unlike any Jensen had seen in his years of dealing with various species. "I am Admiral Nyxis," she announced, her voice carrying the same musical quality it had over the comm. "My ship requires immediate attention." Jensen nodded, professional instincts kicking in despite his surprise. "Jensen Cole, station mechanic. Let's take a look at that engine." The Celestial Wind's engine room was a marvel of engineering. Systems that Jensen had only read about in theoretical papers were integrated seamlessly with more conventional technology. But even the most advanced technology could fail, and this engine was definitely failing. "Your plasma containment field is degrading," Jensen explained, scanning the engine core. "The modulation frequency is off by 0.3 microseconds. It's causing a cascade failure in the auxiliary systems." Admiral Nyxis's expression remained neutral, but her tail, a feature Jensen hadn't noticed initially, twitched slightly. "Can you repair it?" Jensen grinned, already pulling tools from his kit. "Give me 4 hours. I'll need to recalibrate the entire containment system, but I can get you flying again." As he worked, Jensen couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The damage pattern wasn't consistent with normal wear and tear. The modulation disruption looked almost deliberate. He was so absorbed in his work that he barely noticed Admiral Nyxis watching him intently. Her golden eyes tracked his every movement as he bypassed damaged systems and rewired critical components. 3 hours and 47 minutes later, Jensen closed the access panel and initiated the startup sequence. The engine hummed to life, its plasma core glowing with a steady, healthy blue light. "That should do it," he said, wiping his hands on his coveralls. "I also noticed some unusual wear patterns. Someone's been tampering with your engine." Admiral Nyxis's eyes narrowed. "You're certain?" The modulation disruption was too precise to be accidental. Someone wanted your ship to fail, but they wanted it to look like a normal malfunction. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Then she reached into her uniform and produced a small device. With a few quick movements, she activated what Jensen recognized as a privacy field military grade, if he had to guess. "Mr. Cole," she said, her voice taking on a dangerous edge, "what I'm about to tell you must remain confidential. I am not merely an admiral. I am the chief executive of Stellar Dynamics Corporation." Jensen's heart skipped a beat. Stellar Dynamics was the largest corporation in known space, controlling everything from shipping lanes to terraforming operations. "Someone in my organization is trying to remove me from power," she continued. "Your skills and..." Discretion could be valuable in the coming days. Jensen looked at the engine he'd just repaired, then back at the Admiral. He had a feeling his quiet life at Delta 9 was about to become considerably less quiet. "What exactly are you proposing?" he asked. Admiral Nyxus smiled, revealing sharp, crystalline teeth. "How would you like a new job, Mr. Cole?" The headquarters of Stellar Dynamics Corporation made Jensen's repair station look like a storage closet. The massive structure floated in high orbit around New Singapore, its crystalline spires catching the light of the system's binary stars. Security drones buzzed around the building like mechanical insects, their sensors constantly scanning for threats. Jensen stood in Admiral Nyxus's private office, trying not to fidget in the tailored suit she'd insisted he wear. The entire wall behind her desk was a window looking out over Earth's most successful colony world. The view made his head spin. "Your initial assessment was correct," Nyxus said, gesturing to a holographic display floating between them. "The sabotage was sophisticated, designed to trigger a catastrophic failure during faster-than-light travel." Jensen studied the technical readouts, his mind already breaking down the complexity of the attack. "They knew your travel schedule. This wasn't just someone with engineering knowledge. They had inside access to your itinerary." "Precisely." Nyxus's crystalline scales shifted color slightly, taking on a darker hue that Jensen was learning to associate with anger. "The board meeting is in 3 hours. I need you there." Jensen blinked. "I'm just a mechanic." "You're an expert witness to an assassination attempt," she corrected. "And more importantly, you're human." Before Jensen could ask what that meant, the office door slid open. A towering figure entered, another of Nyxus's species, but male and adorned with elaborate ceremonial armor. His scales were a deep blue that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Sister," he rumbled, "the Vega delegation has arrived early." His eyes fell on Jensen. "This is the human mechanic." "Battlemaster Kyrex," Nyxus nodded. "Yes, this is Jensen Cole. He'll be assisting with our investigation." Jensen noticed the slight emphasis on "our" and wondered exactly what he'd gotten himself into. The Battlemaster's expression was unreadable, but his tail moved in a way that reminded Jensen of a cat about to pounce. "The board won't like this," Kyrex warned, "bringing an outsider into internal matters." "The board's preferences ceased to matter when someone tried to kill me," Nyxus cut him off. "Mr. Cole's presence serves multiple purposes. Don't underestimate him." The next 3 hours were a crash course in corporate politics at the highest level. Jensen learned that Stellar Dynamics wasn't just a company, it was the backbone of interstellar civilization. Their technology and infrastructure made faster-than-light travel possible for everyone else. And now, someone wanted to change that. The boardroom was a testament to power. 52 seats arranged in a perfect circle, each occupied by a representative from a different species. Humans, being relative newcomers to the galactic community, had only 2 seats. The crystalline people, the Nexari, as Jensen learned they were called, held the majority. Jensen stood beside Admiral Nyxus as she presented the evidence of sabotage. He noticed the subtle shifts in posture among the board members, the way some leaned forward with genuine concern, while others tried too hard to appear surprised. "This is disturbing news," said Director Venn, a human representative with cybernetic enhancements visible along his temples. "But why bring a mechanic into these proceedings?" "Because," Jensen spoke up, surprising himself as much as anyone, "whoever did this wasn't trying to hide their work from casual inspection. They wanted it to be found, just not by the right people." He stepped forward, bringing up his own analysis on the holographic display. The sabotage was elegant, sophisticated, but it had a signature, a very specific way of bypassing the plasma containment failsafes. I've seen it before in theoretical papers published by Vega Industries. The room erupted in chaos. The Vega delegation, tall, ethereal beings with translucent skin, rose in protest. Security drones activated, their weapons systems humming to life. "This is outrageous," the Vega representative hissed. "We demand." "You demand nothing," Nyxus's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Mr. Cole, continue. Jensen swallowed hard but pressed on. The technique leaves trace particles in the plasma stream, unique particles that can only be produced by Vega's proprietary technology. Someone wanted us to find this, wanted us to blame Vega Industries. A false flag, Battlemaster Kyrex rumbled from his position near the door. The question is, who benefits from starting a corporate war between Stellar Dynamics and Vega? Jensen noticed movement in his peripheral vision. Director Venn was reaching for something under the table. Without thinking, Jensen grabbed Nyxus and pulled her down just as a pulse of energy crackled through the space where she'd been standing. Security drones swarmed, weapons charged. Venn stood, a banned neural disruptor in his hand, his cybernetic implants glowing with combat protocols. Humanity will never achieve its potential while aliens control our future, he snarled and fired again. But Jensen wasn't looking at Venn. He was looking at the other board members, nodding who seemed surprised and who didn't. Because now he understood this wasn't just about corporate power. This was about the future of human-alien relations, and he had just become a key player in a game he barely understood. The maintenance station loomed before them, a massive structure of interconnected rings and docking arrays. Jensen sat in the co-pilot's seat of the stealth ship, watching as Admiral Nyxus guided them through a complex approach vector designed to mimic routine traffic patterns. Remember, Myra's voice came through their secure comm channel, you have 12 hours before the next shift change. Find the source of those power signatures and get out. Jensen checked his modified toolkit one last time. Each tool had been enhanced with surveillance tech that would scan and transmit data back to Stellar Dynamics while he worked. His coveralls contained a next-gen stealth field generator, and his identification chip had been carefully altered to show a contract history that would stand up to scrutiny. Docking control, this is maintenance vessel Echo 7, Nyxus transmitted, her voice altered to sound human. Requesting clearance for scheduled hardware upgrade. There was a tense moment of silence before the response came. Echo 7, transmit your authorization codes. Jensen held his breath as their carefully forged credentials were transmitted. If Terra Prime had updated their security protocols. Echo 7, you are cleared for Bay 14. Maintain current vector. They docked without incident, the ship's magnetic clamps engaging with a soft thud. Nyxus powered down the engines but left the stealth systems running on standby. Remember, if anything goes wrong. Head to extraction point Beta and don't wait for you, Jensen finished. I remember the briefing, all 47 contingency plans. 48, she corrected, her scales shifting to a color that might have been concern. Don't underestimate these people, Jensen. They may be extremists, but they're not stupid. He nodded, securing his toolkit. Just another maintenance job, nothing suspicious about a human contractor doing human work. The station's interior was a maze of service corridors and maintenance shafts, all standard design for this class of facility. But Jensen's enhanced sensors picked up subtle differences, power conduits that didn't appear on any official blueprints, security systems hidden behind innocent-looking panels. He made his way to the central engineering section, occasionally stopping to perform legitimate maintenance work to maintain his cover. His tools transmitted a steady stream of data back to Myra's team, mapping the station's hidden infrastructure. Hey, you, a voice called out. Jensen turned to see a security officer approaching, her uniform bearing Terra Prime's subtle insignia. This section's restricted during shift change. Jensen held up his work order. Got called in for a level 3 power fluctuation in junction. 47B systems are showing critical wear on the primary coolant regulators. The officer frowned, checking her datapad. I don't see any alerts for 47B. That's because the monitoring system itself is compromised, Jensen explained, falling back on years of experience. When coolant regulators start to go, they can feed false data back to the main computer. Real nasty situation if it's not caught in time. Had a station out in the Proxima sector lose 3 whole decks that way last year. The technical details had the desired effect. The officer's eyes glazed slightly and she waved him through. Fine, just make it quick and stay away from Section 12. Jensen made a mental note. Section 12, exactly where the unusual power signatures were strongest. He worked his way closer to his real target, using maintenance access ways to avoid regular patrol routes. The power readings were getting stronger, and his enhanced tools were picking up something else: quantum fluctuations consistent with experimental weapons technology. Then he found it. Hidden behind a false wall in a supposedly abandoned storage area was a massive testing chamber. Through an observation window, he could see rows of missiles, each bearing the distinctive ripple effect of phase shift technology. "Nixis," he subvocalized, activating his secure comm. "Are you seeing this?" "Confirmed," her voice whispered in his ear. "Phase shift weapons. They're designed to bypass shield systems completely. One direct hit could destroy a capital ship." Jensen's tools continued scanning, building a complete technical profile of the weapons. "This is way beyond Terra Prime's capabilities. This has to be Shade Collective tech." "Wait," Nixis said sharply. "Those power readings just spiked there." An alarm blared, cutting her off. Emergency shutters began slamming down throughout the facility. "Intruder alert," a computerized voice announced. "Quantum scan detection in Section 12. Security protocols engaged." Jensen cursed. Their scanning equipment must have triggered some kind of detection system. He turned to run, only to find himself face to face with the security officer from earlier. She wasn't looking confused anymore. "You know," she said, drawing a weapon, "coolant regulators don't actually feed false data to monitoring systems. That's not how they work." "Yeah," Jensen sighed. "I was kind of hoping you wouldn't know that." The officer's weapon hummed as it charged. "On behalf of Terra Prime, you're under arrest for..." She never finished the sentence. A pulse of energy caught her squarely in the back, and she crumpled to reveal Myra Drake standing in the doorway, her optical implants glowing. "Extraction Plan 48, she said with a grim smile. "Now would be a good time to run." Alarms blared throughout the station as Jensen, Myra, and 3 unconscious Terra Prime guards tumbled into a maintenance shaft. The sound of boots thundering on metal grating echoed from above. "Please tell me you have an actual escape plan," Jensen gasped, his stealth field flickering from damage taken in their last encounter. Myra's silver eyes glowed as she accessed the station's systems through her implants. "Nixis is moving the ship to Extraction Point Gamma. We just need to get through 2 more sections without dying." "About that," Jensen pulled out his scanner, now reconfigured to detect the phase shift weapons. "They're powering up the prototypes if those things go live." "The entire sector could become a war zone," Myra finished. "We need to shut them down." Jensen studied the power grid readings scrolling across his display. "The weapons are drawing power from the station's main reactor. If we could trigger a specific type of overload, it would force their safety systems to shut everything down," Myra nodded. "But a normal overload would take too long." A smile crept across Jensen's face. "Who said anything about normal? Remember how I fixed Nixis's ship? That plasma containment trick works both ways." Understanding dawned in Myra's eyes. "You want to deliberately recreate the sabotage pattern? That's insane." "Technically, it's recursive engineering," Jensen corrected, already pulling tools from his kit. "I just need 5 minutes with a main power junction." An explosion rocked the station. Battlemaster Kyrex's voice crackled over their comms. "Terra Prime's called in reinforcements. Shade Collective ships just dropped out of FTL. You have less than 5 minutes." Jensen and Myra shared a look. "Junction 34C is closest," she said. "Race you there." They moved through the maintenance shafts with practiced efficiency, Myra's combat skills and Jensen's knowledge of station systems making them a formidable team. They reached the power junction just as another explosion shook the station. "Multiple hull breaches detected," the station's AI announced. "Emergency protocols engaged." Jensen's hands flew over the junction's controls, deliberately introducing the same instabilities he'd fixed in Nyxus's ship. When this goes, we'll have exactly 47 seconds before the safety systems kick in. The prototype weapons will lose power, Myra said, keeping watch. But so will everything else, including life support. That's why timing is critical. Jensen made a final adjustment. Now we run. They sprinted through increasingly chaotic corridors. Emergency bulkheads were slamming shut as the station's automated systems tried to contain the growing crisis. Through viewport windows, they could see ships exchanging fire, stellar dynamics security, forces engaging with Shade collective vessels. 30 seconds, Jensen called out as they rounded a corner, only to find themselves facing a squad of Terra Prime soldiers. Freeze, the squad leader shouted, raising a phase shift rifle. 25 seconds, Jensen said calmly. You might want to worry less about us and more about your reactor containment. The station's lights flickered, warning klaxons changed tone. Critical system failure imminent, the AI announced. Emergency shutdown initiated. The Terra Prime soldiers' weapons powered down as the station's systems went dark. Emergency lighting cast everything in a red glow. 15 seconds until auxiliary power, Myra announced, already moving. The soldiers, realizing their weapons were useless, charged forward. Myra met them with practiced efficiency, her combat training evident in every movement. Jensen slipped past the melee, making for the nearest airlock. Through his comm, he could hear Nyxus coordinating with stellar dynamics forces, using the temporary blackout to target Shade collective ships. They reached extraction point Gamma with 2 seconds to spare. As auxiliary power came online, Nyxus's ship was already docking, its stealth systems keeping it hidden from the chaos outside. The prototypes, Nyxus demanded as they stumbled aboard. Fried, Jensen reported. The power surge destroyed their containment systems. They'll need to start from scratch. And we have proof of Shade collective involvement, Myra added, transmitting data from her implants. Multiple ships caught in the act. Nyxus's scales shifted to a color Jensen had never seen before, something between triumph and relief. The board won't be able to ignore this. Terra Prime's influence in stellar dynamics is finished. As their ship accelerated away from the station, Jensen watched the Shade collective vessels retreat into FTL. The station itself was dark, emergency crews already moving in to evacuate personnel. So, he said, turning to Nyxus, about my contract. The Admiral's crystalline features arranged themselves into what might have been a smile. How would you like to head our new security engineering division? We need someone who can think like both a mechanic and a tactical advisor. Jensen thought about his quiet repair station, about the simple life he'd led just a week ago. Then he thought about everything he'd seen, the technology, the conspiracies, the chance to make a real difference. One condition, he said. I want to rebuild that station, turn it into a proper training facility. If we're going to defend against sabotage and advanced weapons, we need more people who can spot the patterns. Done, Nyxus agreed. Welcome aboard, Chief Engineer Cole. As their ship jumped to FTL, Jensen smiled. Sometimes the best way to fix a broken system was to become part of it, and he had a lot of fixing to do.